Almost live.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, now we're live. Hey, how's it
Almost.
going?
Hey,
Almost.
the boundary between live and not live is a very important boundary to observe.
It is an important boundary to observe. And then there's this. Mm-hmm. And my ring light's really bright, and I could like turn my ring light off or whatever, but I was like,
Mhm.
nah, I'm just gonna go like this.
And I can
And
see your
then
screen, so be careful what tabs you
uh,
switch over to.
close out that. Okay, let's get on this. It is the Chargers and it is Miami as part 2 of the Week 10 preview on the Audible happen. And the Chargers Miami is exciting because of the quarterbacks. Now, it's also exciting because how does Keenan Allen work against this Dolphins secondary, which has some improvements, which has some playmakers in it there as well. So Herbert and his weapons. We all know Mike Williams and Hunter Henry and Keenan Allen, as I suggest. You're sitting there going, okay, he's going to spread it around. Who's the unnamed player that's going to get a touchdown this week from the Chargers? The ground game is one of those complicated situations. We're not yet trusting. No Austin Eckler yet, Bloom. But this one is interesting for Herbert because it's Herbert against that Dolphins defense. As much as we want to talk about Herbert versus Tua, Herbert versus a Dolphins swarming defense in that secondary is very interesting.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, there's a couple of things I want to pause and acknowledge. One, which you already have. Tua versus Herbert. Cease, I think, for the first time since maybe the wave that brought us Colin Kaepernick and Robert Griffin III and Andrew Luck, it feels like there's a multitude of young quarterbacks who all have their own signature styles, and we can look forward to all these different combinations. And we're going to have another one we're going to break down in a second here. It's wonderful. Enjoy it. Let's enjoy the idea that these careers are open ended. You know, we can dream for the best for all of these guys,
Yes.
and certainly, and it's what's really interesting about this one too is the reports up until the draft were that Miami was pretty much on the fence between Herbert and Tua, and the Chargers might have been too, and that both were kind of content with either one, and we saw that maybe reflected in the fact that neither one traded up. So, with other thing in mind here, of course, if you say Chargers, Dolphins, Cease, I just think of Kellen Winslow. You know, greatest single performance in a game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's on the short list. You know, it's the first vivid memory of football that I have. It was the first time, I think I was maybe 6 years old, just captivated by that game. Hook and ladder, all that. It was incredible. Miami wants to be a contender, and if the Chargers could close out games, they would be a contender. So Herbert, as you said, facing a tougher defense, but Kyler Murray showed what he can do, and Herbert hasn't run into a defense yet that could solve him. So we're going to watch this, of course, with that Bill Belichick bloodline. Brian Flores, he found some things, because usually Belichick could expose young quarterbacks. You know, we remember Ben Roethlisberger in the AFC title game in his rookie year. So we'll see maybe if Flores has found a few chinks in the armor there. Keenan Allen. If we were drafting today, Keenan Allen first round pick in PPR leagues, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Williams likely facing Xavier Howard. Whew. Ding ding. Let's see 15 rounds of that. It might make you go away from Mike Williams in this one. So does that mean it's more Hunter Henry? Or like you said, Cease, it's more Tyron Johnson or Jalen Guyton or KJ Hill or Donald Parham.
I'm putting my chips on Joe Reed this week.
Joe Reed. There you go. And then the other thing looming over this game, Cease, who are the running backs going to be? Probably not Justin Jackson. You know, Anthony Lynn says we're going to rest him. I really think the Chargers organization, and maybe that just means Anthony Lynn, do not trust Justin Jackson to stay healthy. They do not trust him to do that.
No.
So Troy Maine Pope coming back from the concussion. Kalen LaBallage, will he get called up from the practice squad? Joshua Kelly still there. It doesn't seem like they trust Joshua Kelly either. This is like the JaMychal Hasty situation where they're finding anybody to play instead of Joshua Kelly. Not that Kelly's not getting some run, but not enough run, and he's not efficient enough, which the two things are related, to be worthy for fantasy. And we'll see. We'll see about Austin Eckler. Week 12, week 13, maybe not this year. Hard to say. So the Chargers get to play spoiler here because they've spoiled so many wins this year.
Look at our guy Perry. He's in Rome.
Wow.
He's
when in Rome, Perry,
man.
you know what to do.
Well, yeah.
Do as the Romans do. Like look both ways twice before you cross the street.
There you go. We'll move on to the other side. By the way, you mentioned the Dolphins seriously considered Herbert. So did the Bengals.
Yeah.
So did the Bengals. I remember when I reported that at the Shrine game, and some DMAC were like, "That's outrageous. How could you suggest that?" I'm like, well,
Christian McCaffrey at number 8. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Anyway, yeah, Herbert's really good. Tua is really good on the flip side, Bloom. We saw a glimpse of it, but now it's without Preston Williams. So more Devontae Parker, more Mike Gesicki. Got it. Got him. And then speaking of running back mess, I mean, you really want to plug in? Do you feel good plugging in Jordan Howard? Do you feel good playing your Dolphins backs? Not really. So, okay, more Parker, more Gesicki, most likely. What else from Tua and company this week?
Yes, he's, as you describe it, kind of closing in on Tua, the factors here that are going to put the game on his shoulders. And, well, hey, Tua looked more than ready for prime time last week. And he's going to be really fun to watch. However, as you said, he loses Preston Williams. And see, so I don't want to appeal to karma. I don't know exactly the nature of the things that made Preston Williams a character risk when he went undrafted. But now we've had 2 years in a row
domestic violence.
During his breakout game, he gets hurt. Like, as everything's coming together for him on the football field, he suffers a serious injury. It just sucks. I mean, it sucks in the sense of like getting to see what he can do if he spreads his wings, because now he has a foot injury on IR. And he was the guy that Tua seemed to have a real connection with last week before he went out. So obviously that's good for Devontae Parker. Now or never for Mike Gesicki. I mean, it's all opened up for him, especially with Isaiah Ford traded. Jakeem Grant, a deeper what the heck flex here. Because like you said, the running game, I mean, maybe we'll see Matt Breida back. I'm not trusting Matt Breida, not coming off of an injury. If you like a yard plus per carry and maybe a touchdown, Jordan Howard's the play for you. Maybe it's DeAndre Washington. DeAndre Washington might be the best combination of dependability and a wide skill set of this group of running backs. Basically what Myles Gaskin was offering, but with a little more. I'm interested to see if Washington is activated. And then, Antonio Callaway. Listen to some of the names that are coming back. Speaking of character risks, Antonio Callaway, they're talking about activating him for this game. Again, trading away Isaiah Ford. Maybe in hindsight, they would not have done that. But it's going to be on the quarterbacks, which is exactly what we want in this matchup that makes us look ahead to the future.
It makes us look to the head and look ahead and go, You know who else I want to see more of, Bloom?
Huh?
Jakeem Grant.
Yeah, absolutely. Cliff Kingsbury knows Jakeem Grant's good.
4 for 35 last week, and he's been targeted, 5 times, a couple of times, 4 times, a couple of times. Yeah, you could do a little bit more. You could run some gadget plays with Jakeem Grant. You kind of need to. Are the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks in your projections this week, Bloom, in this next game, Buffalo and Arizona? It's a Josh Allen versus Kyler Murray type of week. So fantasy goodness could abound. Buffalo side first. That is from Allen. People incredibly high on what he's been doing, what he can continue to do, Bloom. Okay. And then we look towards his favorite targets. Stephon Diggs, more John Brown, please. He's better when you use John Brown. And the running back situation, which is becoming more Moss and less Singletary. In fact, I'm recommending to callers, to tweeters, when I'm actually on social networking, because I can't stand it. But anyway, every show, Bloom. Yeah. Every show, get off my lawn with your social networking. I'm telling people Devin Singletary is a guy to drop. Like Devin Singletary guy, you got better options out there moving on, right? You're gonna look, should I go get JD McKissick and drop Devin Singletary? Yeah. Why? Because Zach Moss is kind of taken over, at least from the fantasy relevant part, Bloom.
Yeah. See, you've heard of ASMR, those ASMR videos online.
Yeah.
You could start the ASML, the Anti-Social Media League. Anyway, okay. I like it. So if you're not watching Tua versus Herbert in this 6-game afternoon slate, how often does that happen? You're watching Kyler versus Josh. This is going to be fun. And actually, the number 2 and 3 quarterbacks in my rankings, but now you're making me think about it, because I have Russell Wilson ahead of them, but Russell Wilson, the Rams sometimes give him trouble. It isn't Wade Phillips, Russell Wilson matchup, but anyway, yes, these are the quarterbacks that you're looking for. Is the good Josh Allen back? I think our best theory going forward is it's John Brown. When John Brown is out there, everything becomes easier. And because of that, John Brown is a nice wide receiver 3 flex play. And of course, Stephon Diggs is in your lineup. Cole Beasley, again, I'm going with the theory that he's a struggle target. As it's tougher for Josh Allen to find things as the plays aren't unfolding the way he expects them to, that's when he goes to Cole Beasley. I think Gabriel Davis continues to be a better play than Beasley, to be honest, because of the touchdown possibilities for Davis. Then you have Moss versus Singletary. You broke it down well. See, Singletary still has some usefulness to this offense, maybe a desperation play in fantasy leagues, but it's Moss getting those goal line carries. And with Josh Allen playing, well, that means more touchdown opportunities. Watching that Arizona defense, not exactly a strength, but getting Isaiah Simmons more involved, Marcus Golden back in Arizona more involved. Cease, remember when the NFC West was a defense division?
Yeah. Cardinals defense makes me think of this guy.
Yeah.
Right. We're back. We're back. Josh Allen.
We're back in the red zone.
Yeah, should have coached Josh Allen, and then maybe you'd still have a head coaching gig. Anyway, the Cardinals side of things, is Kenyon Drake back? That's what I want to know, because fantasy GMs are looking at Chase Edmonds going, can you do a little bit more? By the way, stop complaining about DeAndre Hopkins, please. You know what I mean? It's like when rich people have to get work on their house done. I don't want to be too specific, Bloom. Yeah. But when rich people have to get work on their house done, it's like, this is going to cost me $40,000. Hey, at least you have that. Right? Yeah. Right? So it's like when people complain about DeAndre Hopkins, it's like, you have DeAndre Hopkins. Shut the hell up. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure. One time he's going to have a 4 for 40 game, and then he's going to have 3 for 120 and 2 touchdowns. So, okay. Fantasy bonanza. The Bills defense is not good. So Nuke and Kyler, of course, people looking at Christian Kirk. Hey, let's get some done there. Let's talk about this Cardinal side. And then again, if Drake's back, what does that do? And if he's not, what does that do?
Yeah, we talked about Xavier Howard versus Mike Williams. That's the undercard. Tre'Davious White versus DeAndre Hopkins. That's our 15-round heavyweight fight here. Yeah, and there's some bad blood between these guys. Of course, remember they faced off in the playoffs last year. So that's going to be fun to watch. But also that's going to maybe change Kyler Murray's tack to go after this Buffalo defense, which has been very vulnerable. Christian Kirk, the story no one, including us, is talking about. Christian Kirk is basically the hottest wide receiver in fantasy football right now, other than Devontae Adams, but we give that.
That's a different level.
Right. You got to stay with the hot hand here. And Christian Kirk is probably going to be a big part of this passing game. Again, yes, even with Kenyon Drake back, Chase Edmonds is the better play. Chase Edmonds getting more work in the passing game. Chase Edmonds has been better at converting when he has a chance to get a touchdown. And we are likely to see Kenyon Drake back this week. But just watch. Either way, Edmonds is the better play. And there's no fantasy relevant tight end. But just know that's another angle. Because we talked about it last week with Miami. How is Kyler Murray going to adjust to playing a defense that has better outside corners? Well, a touchdown to Darrell Daniels, a touchdown to Max Williams, not Dan Arnold. So that's just something to watch here as Kyler is evolving as a passer in front of our very eyes. And this could easily be one of those who has the ball last kind of games.
This is easily one of those. Get your popcorn ready. Stop everything that you're doing. Wait a second. We're going to have to be recording during this game.
Yeah.
No. Broncos will be on. Yeah. Hey, good for me. I'll be watching Broncos instead of this game. God.
Yeah. You sound like one of the jobs. Exactly. Don't be like the DeAndre Hopkins. You get to be on the radio and talking to John Elway.
Damn it, I got to watch the Broncos game. Seattle and the Rams. It's another one. And another one. Seattle and the Rams. Can't even. Anyway, Seattle side. Russell Wilson is your number one quarterback for now, Bloom. Okay. The running back situation is a mess still. It's like, okay, Travis Homer? Like, just watch the practice report and you're like, who? We know no Carlos Hyde? Is that the one we know about, right? There's one we're pretty sure about. And I think it's no Carlos Hyde. But outside of that, maybe Chris Carson, maybe Homer, maybe DJ. I don't know. So check it out. Watch it. You're starting Tyler Lockett. You're starting DK Metcalf. Are you thinking, Bloom? And again, this isn't for necessarily starting. It's not like you're going to what the heck flex a tight end. But, is something coming through with Jacob Hollister or not? Talent's been there with the kid.
Right.
Maybe. So I'll keep watching that. I'm not going to start him, but deep dynasty. I've had Jacob Hollister since he came out of Wyoming Cowboys, baby. So let's talk about the Seattle side and the relevant players because there's quite a few.
This matchup has been exciting, and the Rams have handled Seattle well. I believe that they won 4 of the last 6 matchups, and the other 2 they could have won on the last play or were very close to winning. So this is not a gimme. And again, the NFC playoff picture, I mean, Green Bay is probably going to be the number 1 seed. And then these games, these divisional games in the NFC West could totally shake up the playoff picture. Also, when you're saying who, Cecil, you're reminding me it's something like the owl, from the Tootsie Roll pop commercials. How many licks does it take to get to the last Seattle running back on the depth chart? 1, 2, because it didn't take long this year. Again, when this was that Rams defense from a couple of years ago, at times Russell Wilson struggled against them, but this is Russ cooking. This still is a tough Rams defense. You're trusting Russ, you're trusting Lockett, you're trusting Metcalf. You're not trusting any of the running backs unless Chris Carson is active. I think if Chris Carson is active, you got to play him. Trust me, folks. If you're looking over your lineup this week and you're thinking, oh, that's who I'm starting at running back, you're with like 70% of fantasy teams this week. So don't worry about it. As long as you're stronger elsewhere, you'll be okay. One of the ways to potentially be stronger elsewhere, I love that you laid it out, Cease. Jacob Hollister, very interesting because they gave him like a RFA tender of $3 million, and you think, well, they signed Olsen for $7 million, wasted that money. Will Dissly coming back, not maybe up to the level he was at before those multiple injuries. And then there's Jacob Hollister.
By the way, he was a blocking tight end before that. So the multiple injuries took it out of a blocking tight end.
And then you have, and Dissly's still making some plays this year, but you have Hollister. And remember, he was playing a pretty big role down the stretch for this team. He was the guy who caught the catch that was just short of the goal line against San Francisco that flipped the NFC bracket last year. But Hollister, after the bye, has gradually been a bigger and bigger part of the offense. See, last week he got the call like a 4th and 5. So there's trust there, there's skill there, and it's the Seattle passing game. Just hang on. I mean, just hitch a ride on this. So, yes, I did pick up Jacob Hollister in a ton of leagues, especially leagues where I needed a tight end this week, because I think you might see his arrow point up and really start to take off. And, yeah, like you said, Cease, flipping this. Now, this is where you really need that 3 television setup like Bob Harris has in his lair, because this is all must-see TV as we get into the second half of the year.
We got to get that 12 TV setup like Phil Steele, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Next one. Well, we got to do the Rams side. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. It's okay. Jared Goff might make you want to do that.
Right. Skip. But you're looking at the Seattle defense going, well, they're not good.
Right.
So give me some Robert Woods. Give me some Cooper Kupp, of course. We'll watch the tight end split. We'll watch the running back split. No practice for Darrell Henderson yesterday. Full disclosure, Thursday morning. So we're watching that. Is it a Malcolm Brown week? Who the hell knows as that committee continues. But with the Rams side, Bloom, there could be some fantasy goodness because Seattle's defense is not so very goodness.
Yeah, we're going to watch Seattle's defense wake up. Jamal Adams' second week back. Carlos Dunlap, his second week. Maybe they might get Shaq Griffin back. Quentin Dunbar has been a disaster. Maybe all that armed robbery incident that didn't turn into charges still was an omen about Dunbar's play. So with Jared Goff, the last time we saw Jared Goff, Miami just unmasked him. They pantsed him, in front of everybody. Ha, ha, ha. Jared Goff, you can challenge him and say, we dare you to beat us, and he can't. Does Miami then transfer that game plan to Seattle? Because they sacked Josh Allen 7 times last week. So they can get pressure on the quarterback. Is that all it takes to make Goff crumble? Or are the problems the Seattle pass D have been having enough to say, I might get cute and start Jared Goff over some guys that I normally wouldn't? It is November. That was a bad week, year, month. It felt like a year when he didn't get a touchdown pass last November. And, we're back to November. It was Eric Stoner popped up into my text messages during the Miami game. We're back to November. Jared Goff, he's coming. The running back split, as you said, could it be a Cam Akers week? Henderson not practicing out of the bye indicates to me that there's a better chance that he will sit than we thought after there were some reassurances that he was going to play was a thigh injury. So that could be Cam Akers. We know that Malcolm Brown's going to be inconvenient in that he's going to still get his 8, 10, 12 touches and be on the field in those passing situations. This could be your Cam Akers week. Also, it looks like coming out of the bye, not a lot of talk about Cooper Kupp and that wrist injury going into the bye. He was limited in practice, so just watch this. It sounds like Cooper Kupp's going to be okay because this is absolutely a game you want to get Kupp in, you want to get Woods in, and maybe Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds has been playing very well going into the bye, on the field a lot as a third receiver, whereas at the beginning of the year we thought, ooh, Van Jefferson's coming. And then, of course, you have the tight ends, desperation play, Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. Because it's Seattle's defense, anybody in the passing game could go off for a big game. You need to if you're going to keep up with Russ.
Bloom, I always like picking your brain about maybe graphic novels that you've read or movies that you've seen. Have you seen V for Vendetta?
Yeah. Remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember the Goff of November?
Exactly. Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And then get your barf bag.
Yeah, it's a little too on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get on to the next game. It's San Francisco and New Orleans. Okay, New Orleans riding high, and I don't think they read their press clippings or whatever, but New Orleans riding high. Why do I have a suspicious feeling that San Francisco can be annoying to them? Like the Saints will win the game. I'm picking the Saints to win the game, obviously. But if San Francisco is going to be annoying, if I'm right, Bloom, and maybe it's just I haven't had enough coffee, I don't know. If San Francisco is going to be annoying to the Saints, then how would they do that? Okay, well, Jet McKinnon, JaMychal Hasty is that running back committee there. We know no Tevin Coleman here. And then you look to the passing game. Who's healthy enough? Is Ross Dwelly going to get 3 catches? Or is he going to get 6 catches and a touchdown? Like, there's some questions here. What are the answers for the 49ers? And can they be annoying to the Saints? Or are they going to get their doors blown off?
Yeah, and both are very possible. And again, that New Orleans-Tampa result was so unexpected last week that we're going to watch this week to figure out what the interpretation is. Was it just a one-off performance? Or New Orleans, everything getting into place, all the pieces falling into place? Because on paper, you got Janoris Jenkins and Marshawn Lattimore. You got Malcolm Jenkins back. Marcus Williams still playing well. Up front, you got Cam Jordan. Trey Hendrickson is really coming on. You still have Marcus Davenport. The players are there. I think the key to the game last week for New Orleans defense was getting pressure with the front four. Consistently getting pressure with the front four. It's going to be a problem for Nick Mullins. Trent Williams should be back this week, though. And Brandon Ayuk's going to be back. Cecil, you say, how are they going to be able to pull this off? Probably it's going to have to be scheming Brandon Ayuk and Richie James. I don't think Deebo Samuel's going to be back. Kendrick Bourne's still on the COVID list. So maybe we see another Richie James showcase week. But they're going to have to be schemed open or win those one-on-one matchups against those corners. Because you could say, well, we'll use the running game to set it up. The running game with Jarek McKinnon. No Raheem Mostert this week yet. So week 12 probably for that return. So the running game with JaMychal Hasty and Jarek McKinnon. McKinnon is a receiver out of the backfield against those linebackers. Maybe the Saints' pass defense was very vulnerable to giving up big plays to wide receivers. But George Kittle's not out there to loosen things up in the middle of the field. So last year, this was one of the games of the year, if not the game of the year. And it basically determined the number 1 seed, which determined that the playoffs road went through Santa Clara, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. New Orleans had to face Minnesota in the first round, and everyone remembers what happened there. So, Ayuk is an interesting play here. James as a true what-the-heck flex. McKinnon, kind of a desperation running back too. You're more likely to play him in a PPR league. Everyone's saying it's going to be a Michael Hasty game because that's just how the 49ers and Kyle do. And it is on Kyle. It's on Kyle to call the right plays at the right moment and Mullins to execute them. And then there's Ross Dwelly. We'll see if Jordan Reed looks better in his second week back. Really, I think you want New Orleans defense. I think New Orleans defense they're feeling it. Blood's in the water. And San Francisco, I see Nick Mullins doing the dog paddle. He's not really swimming away from the Sharks. The Sharks are going to get him.
Right. They are going to get him. That's that Saints defense and Trey Hendrickson, man.
Yeah.
FAU Shrine game. There you go for our man Jason. There's his bong rip for the morning. I'm sure he's already had plenty. The Saints side offensively, okay, and you suggested, Bloom, on the waiver wire show, just go to more Latavius Murray. Still use plenty of Alvin Kamara, right? Michael Thomas out there, can't guard Mike, sure. That don't use Jared Cook, like as talented as he is, like they don't use him. Maybe that changes this game. Who knows? But more Latavius Murray would certainly be nice. And then all the other normal assets that you start from the Saints offense that you expect big things from.
Don't you feel like this is the game that Michael Thomas announces to everybody? I never went away. I'm still here.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course Emmanuel Sanders, who is going to remain a big part of this offense. And with all hands on deck, it is Jared Cook who seems like at least the margin of error gets smaller. 3 targets, he might have 2 for 60 and a touchdown. He might have 1 for 5 if he drops the one that should be a 50-yard touchdown. That's life with Jared Cook now in a fully stacked offense. But what this all intersects back with is Drew Brees. Drew Brees finding the fountain of youth. And now with all hands on deck, even if he can't push the ball downfield more than 30, 35 yards, you have this myriad of options. And you have a team, the Saints, see, we just get so used to it. We lavish praise on Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and Arthur Smith for their play calling. We just expect great play calling from the Saints, even though there's the Taysom Hill thing, which is actually doing better. The Taysom Hill, the timing of the calls and letting Taysom Hill throw, and actually he's successful doing it a few times, that's building up that tactical advantage. So it's all intersecting with Drew Brees and in an offense that is very efficiently deploying what they have. And remember, the San Francisco defense is depleted. So I agree with Latavius Murray is what the heck flex. If you expect the Saints to win this one going away, that is a Latavius Murray second half. And I mean, I don't want to say for the 49ers fans, because this is kind of a last stand game for them. And it's like it's like you're defending the Alamo, but you don't have, who do they have, like Davy Crockett and all that. You don't have any of those guys. You got Nick Mullins, Richie James. The point is, it's okay because we need to spend more time watching some of these quarterback battles. This could have been a game that was must-see TV, but instead I think it's going to be a tune-up for the Saints.
A little bit of a tune-up. And what's the next game? Bengals and Steelers. It is a Steelers show. And Ben's continuing to test negative again Thursday morning, COVID. He was close contact with Vance McDonald, who tested positive. Okay, so probably walk through on Saturday for Ben. Probably play. Ben, he always tells you everyone knows exactly what's going on with Ben Roethlisberger, right? He could have corn in his crap and be like, right. Everybody,
there's a rock in my shoe. Everybody
stop what you're doing. I have to take this rock out of my shoe. That's Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, so we're expecting him to play. Cincinnati side, though, first, and that means Joe Burrow pressured. What's he going to do under that pressure? Joe Mixon didn't practice on Wednesday, which is concerning because he misses a couple of weeks. They have a bye, and then Wednesday he doesn't practice. Okay, more Gio Bernard might have to be anyway, Bloom, just as a struggle target, which could be often against the Steelers pass rush. So what does Joe Burrow do to put up a fight? I know a lot of people, it's very trendy, Bloom. Got to watch out for the trendies. Where's my sweatshirt? Don't get me started. It's very trendy to be like, Bengals are going to beat the Steelers this week. They might keep it close because Tomlin always coaches down to his competition. But if they were to, how would Burrow do it?
Quick passing and negotiating the pocket when that pressure is coming, maybe making that one step, that one adjustment. Because what's really just refreshing to watch with Joe Burrow is his ability to negotiate that pocket. I know Matt Waldman introduced the idea of a boxer and that the footwork in the small areas and being able to land those punches. And again, Burrow, he doesn't have the best arm. He's already at Drew Brees' arm strength level, like late career Drew Brees' arm strength level. But it's his ability to find throwing lanes, to find open receivers, to trust his guys. Again, folks, if you haven't seen it, go back and look at the play that clinched the Tennessee game when Tyler Boyd wasn't even turned around. Forget about not looking for the ball. His back was to Joe Burrow when Burrow let the ball go. He anticipated Boyd freeing himself from maybe a hold, and the ball was right on Boyd, and Boyd caught it with great confidence. So I think that these guys know, like, see, it's like a pitcher. I've used this analogy like at least once a year, baseball analogy alert. But the pitchers that work fast, throw strikes, keep their fielders on their toes. You're ready for that with Joe Burrow, and I think that that's kind of scary because I know that third and long Steelers defense, you got them right where you want them, but with Burrow, I think it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and it's Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins may be in one-on-one matchups, but I like Auden Tate in those one-on-one matchups too. And again, that point of emphasis, red zone offense, I feel like Auden Tate can be the solution. Like you said with Gio Bernard, probably not much there in the running game. If he starts, and because Mixon's not practicing out of the bye, I would expect Mixon to miss another week. And that means that Bernard is, middling to low running back too. And then we'll watch Tennessee after Tennessee lost to Cincinnati. Remember, Tennessee took the Steelers to the brink. Are we going to reevaluate Cincinnati as a competitive team? They're not going anywhere this year. And they claimed Tack McKinley, by the way. Got to be excited to be a Bengals fan. They didn't used to make moves like that when they were sitting atop the waiver wire order. They would never bring in useful players. So Tack's not going to be out there for this game to chase after Ben Roethlisberger, but I think it is another sign of the new direction for this franchise. And Cecil, I think that's why it is trendy to say Cincinnati can be very competitive with Pittsburgh. It's up to Joe Burrow, but that's actually pretty comforting to hear when you feel like, hey, your team, it's on Joe Burrow's shoulders. He can handle it.
Yeah. See, you're going to use the baseball analogy, Bloom.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about food.
It's almost Thanksgiving.
Because it's a buffet, right? As a receiver, if I do the work, I might get fed. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of receivers out there. I've said too much. Maybe that, know that they're going to do the work. They're going to run really great routes. They might be known as the greatest route runner in their class. And then they put in the work and they don't get fed because their quarterback doesn't look at them. I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm just saying, if you were really good at running routes and you were taken in the first round and you're open all the time and your quarterback can't read a defense, it's probably frustrating. But if you work with Joe Burrow, right, you're going to get fed. All right, Steelers side of things, it's fairly simple. We'll watch what's the update with Ben. Okay, he's probably going to go through the walkthrough on Saturday if he continues to test negative. And then it's rinse, repeat. Ben Roethlisberger to Juju, to Deontay, Chase Claypool, James Conner running the rock. We already know how this could go for the Steelers, provided, and by the way, if Cincy puts up a fight, good, then that means the Steelers might actually snap into like, oh my God, we got to play good.
Cease, you know what? We got two cats. We got a Siamese Opal, and we have a Maine Coon, Judy. I'm just bringing that up for no reason. Look, Steelers probably have a great matchup on paper. Can they take advantage of it? Because they had one last week. It came around in the second half. So you like Roethlisberger. You like all three of the receivers. I would put the order, Juju, a little bit banged up. Cincinnati, it's about whether they can get pressure on the quarterbacks, as pointed out by Anthony Manera in the chat room. Sam Hubbard also potentially back this week. So if Carl Lawson, Sam Hubbard, if these guys can get pressure, maybe the downfield passes aren't there. Although this is a week that it feels like Chase Claypool might reel in a long one. You got Deontay Johnson too. You want all three of the receivers in. You also want Eric Ebron in. This is a great matchup for tight ends. Ebron making that play to win. And you still stick with Connor. It's a great matchup on paper. What we're watching here, though, is if Connor doesn't look like himself or otherwise isn't productive, is this that inevitable second half wear down, whether it's via injury or not, and we see more of Snell, more of McFarland. That'll be something to watch. I do think Pittsburgh's not going to overlook this one. They're at home. They're playing a division rival. And you would expect that the Steelers are not going to overlook Cincinnati, maybe Jacksonville next week. That series doesn't have a great history for us. This series, Steelers always handle the Bengals, but this is a new Bengals team. So again, how do we pick which game to watch? We go to the primetime games. We don't have a choice. Maybe we wish we had a choice this week.
You can't flex something?
Right. Right?
Well, and all I'm thinking about with Baltimore, New England, Bloom, is what it used to be. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember flying to the Senior Bowl, having a layover in Charlotte because you don't really fly directly into Mobile. So I had a layover in Charlotte, and everyone's gathered around the TVs when that was a thing in an airport, around one of the sports bars, because it was Patriots, Ravens in the playoffs. And what was the divisional round? Top of my head. Either way, it was like one of those like, stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin your flight status, right? Yeah, there you go. I am not dropping an album today, but I've got ideas. Always full of ideas. Let's talk about Baltimore and New England then. And basically, like, Mark Ingram's back practicing. Okay, whatever. I would like to see more J.K. Dobbins bloom. It's not going to happen because they're going to feed Gus Edwards some. And maybe Dobbins has a breakout game, but it'll have to be on like 12 touches, something like that. Lamar Jackson needs to be better as a passer. Mark Andrews is a guy that I'm benching for Jimmy Graham this week. I'm not proud of that, and I'm doing it almost as a punishment to Mandrew, which is stupid because it's fantasy football. And he has no idea who I am, but that's how fantasy GMs think, right? He's let you down for 3 weeks. I can't take a fourth week, and if he blows up on my bench, good. Then I can go back to trusting Mark Andrew. But I'm gonna go to Jimmy Graham this week, and Mark Andrew, you're on the bench. Like, sorry, it's just the way it is. Marquise Brown, complain all you want on Twitter. Sorry, Hey, that echo chamber, what I wanted didn't work. Interesting thing about echo chambers, Bloom. Let's talk about this Ravens offense, though, against New England. What can they be? What can they do?
This becomes a more fascinating matchup with New England coming back to win last week. Because I think if New England loses to the Jets, now you're looking to next year. Not saying they're going to shut down Cam Newton or anything like that, but now you're thinking, okay, we punch our way out of the corner, maybe get into that 7th or 8th playoff spot. And this is certainly a game that, Cecil, Steelers fans, we're finding ourselves rooting for the Patriots. You say, what used to be, this is maybe the only matchup we would root for them. But remember, John Harbaugh and Bill Belichick. Harbaugh was Belichick's equal. When the Ravens, even when the Patriots were a better team than the Ravens, these were always thrilling games and games where you saw everything but the kitchen sink kind of stuff. Now, last year, Lamar Jackson just housed New England and the Baltimore defense. They just housed them. Will we see a repeat this year? Lamar Jackson in that game, solid as a runner, like 16 for 61 and a touchdown, not as much as a passer. It was Mark Ingram actually running over them, 15 for 115. Ingram probably back this week, so just tear up this backfield. Maybe Ingram is a what the heck flex if you had to pick one, or Dobbins because of the big playability. You imagine it's going to be split 3 ways. Now, the New England run defense looks tired. New England's defense looks tired. So perhaps there's a crack there for the running game, but I don't know how high the ceiling is. Stephon Gilmore should be back. So, yeah, Hollywood Brown's probably not there for him. Like you said about Mark Andrews, this is the week that you finally are asking yourself, okay, am I benching him? 3 weeks in a row, am I really benching him?
Yeah.
It's okay. Like C said, if he goes off on your bench, because there's some really good matchups coming up down the stretch, so you want him to go off, and if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. There were 9 receptions by tight ends against New England last year when the Ravens played them, but 5 and the touchdown went to Nick Boyle. So if you're going to get really tricky, maybe you try Nick Boyle like in a GPP lineup or something like that. This is a big game for the Ravens. If the Steelers can win and go to 9-0 for the first time in franchise history, and the Ravens lose this one, they will fall 3 games behind the Steelers, which would really mean the Week 12 game coming up between the Ravens and the Steelers in Pittsburgh would be one of the last chances for the Ravens to just hang in the division. And this is a very different team. You're going on the road in Week 1 of the playoffs, thinking that you were going to build from last year after that bitter disappointment. So I think there's a lot of pressure on the Ravens to win this one, where, like I said, the Patriots can play spoiler and then maybe start a little underdog, rocky kind of theme here as they come on and maybe use that Jets game to find themselves.
Now you're going to say Rocky. You're going to make me want the Sylvester Stallone, man. Hey. I'm sorry.
Hey. Not right now. It's got to be natural. It's like a blooming. It's got to be natural. Okay. You can't force it.
All right. Speaking of changing minds, K1. If there's the one person that could make me change my mind about Mandrew, it would be K1. So K1's starting him. Okay. All right. We'll see what he can do. New England side is, whatever. Running back by committee. Is it a Rex Burkhead week? Is it a Damian Harris week? Is he even going to play? Like, okay. Jacoby Myers. Can you do it again? Right. Isaiah Ford. Yeah. I'll be watching this game just because I want to see. They make a move. Last time they added a receiver from the Dolphins was Wes Welker. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not Wes Welker, but, what do they see that they think they can get out of Isaiah Ford? I'm interested. I'm not starting him, but I'm interested, Bloom. And that's about it from the Patriots side.
Yeah, because it is like a Rocky story. It is who could give this offense a chance against the Ravens? The Ravens are a shutdown defense, and you're not playing any of the running backs. Watch the split. I would love to see Rex Burkhead continue to get 12 to 15 touches a game where we might be able to trust him as a flex player or emergency running back too. Damian Harris, with that chest injury, did get back into practice. We will see Sony Michel Reeves join this backfield soon. James White is kind of the afterthought. Then you have the wide receivers, probably not playing Jacoby Myers. However, if he has another 7 for 67, a PPR strong game, then that will close the book, and we're going to have kind of like Travis Fulgham, where okay, first week might be a fluke, second week we have the beginning of a trend. If it's 3 weeks, then we know we can trust him. Like you said, maybe Isaiah Ford gets a call up. N'Keal Harry. I mean, the good news: N'Keal Harry come back from his concussion. Cease. This is a good trade. Like, because N'Keal Harry is on the field, somebody from the Ravens is going to stay around him. So at least you get to cancel out somebody, because N'Keal Harry against these outside corners, I don't expect much. Remember, Marlon Humphrey is going to be back here too. And, we'll see. I think this is one of those games, Cease, can Cam Newton pull the sword from the stone? And we've seen him do it throughout his career. This is a game where Cam Newton might just do some things where you say, that's not fair. The kind of things he used to do to the Patriots when he would play them. That's what he's going to have to summon up. But we might see it, and it could make this a very entertaining game indeed.
Monday night has some entertainment, basically, because if you're playing against Dalvin Cook, you'd be one of those Sunday box score watchers and like, well, what's my score? What's my score? Oh, I'm leading. Who's he got left? Oh, God. Dalvin Cook.
No.
Monday
Up by 35. I go,
no, bad. In fact, bad. Minnesota and Chicago on Monday Night Football, and it is all about Dalvin Cook. Adam Thielen GMs are, Justin Jefferson, come on. Do a little. Cooks get it and everything. Alexander Madison as a what the heck flex, maybe. But this one, if it's Minnesota, Bloom, if they've got Viking horns on the side of their helmets, we know it's all about Dalvin Cook. And what's that Kirk Cousins high school choir thing that's going around? Have you seen it? Like where he's like singing, I think "Pretty Woman," right?
Oh,
little Roy Orbison. There's
or David Lee Roth
sunglasses, or David Lee Roth. You're very, very, very correct there. So yeah, okay, Kirk Cousins. You can't sing, you can't dance, you can barely play quarterback. Just hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook and you'll be okay.
Hey, good to Phil Collins. I can't dance, or no reply at all. Dalvin Cook. So the first time we got to see Minnesota in primetime this year, Cook got hurt. It was that great game between Minnesota and Seattle. So let's hope that doesn't happen so people can see just how it looks when a great player is truly peaking, truly at the top of his game. So let's just enjoy that, whether you're playing against him or not. The problem with that, though, is if Minnesota can handle this game and control it on the road with Dalvin Cook in the running game, what is left over for the passing game? And it is Chicago, so generally you're going to project lower efficiency. So if you got low volume plus low efficiency, what do you have? Much like the Mark Andrews call, it's going to test you. Adam Thielen, it's going to depend on how good your other options are. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, it's going to test you. Because if you believe that Minnesota's defense, upstart defense now, is going to make Nick Foles look like, well, Nick Foles, and that Minnesota's going to play with a lead, then you're going to get 20 attempts out of Kirk Cousins. A short program for that choir, Right. They're gonna do just like a few songs where they hum, maybe Deck the Halls, and it's over. And Irv Smith got those 2 touchdowns last week. Again, I mean, you're really throwing a Hail Mary with him, because unless you think that Nick Foles does well, or Minnesota's defense trends negatively after trending positively, then this is going to be a Dalvin Cook game. And when Chicago has the ball, I think it's going to be more like the dunk tank. Do you ever go to like the county fair and you just stand around the dunk tank? You wait to see if someone's going to hit that target with a softball because you want to see someone get dunked.
Right.
Nick Foles is going to get dunked in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a Broncos one where Elway was in the dunk tank.
Ooh.
Yeah, and players were like dunking Elway. Mm-hmm.
Right. What was it, $20 a ball, $50 a ball?
And your job? You better not dunk me, bud. I don't want to get wet, bud. I got my phone in my pocket, bud. Good for you, bud. Good for you if you start Allen Robinson. Okay. And
And
littering and
yeah.
okay. Maybe Lamar Miller gets called up. No David Montgomery. Maybe Ryan Nall. Just the wrecking Nall. Okay. There's some assets to be sure on this team. You know, people look at the Bears and go, okay, it can't all be Allen Robinson, can it? Well, I mean, mostly Allen Robinson. Maybe a dash of Darnell Mooney, right? What the heck, flex? Get that deep speed going. Oh, Anthony Miller. I want the Bears to get a quarterback so Anthony Miller can be a thing again. But anyway, so it's Robinson and then a bunch of Hail Marys on Monday night. I don't really want to take a chance with that.
No. How differently would we be talking about this offense if the Bears had gone after Ryan Fitzpatrick instead of Nick Foles in the offseason?
Right.
You know,
how much punch would they have? Because look at, Mooney's got speed.
Right.
Anthony Miller's really good, and they're not uncorking these guys because Foles can't play.
Yeah, Montgomery's got that concussion. Whether or not he plays, I doubt you're going to play him except as a desperation play. So if he's out, we could see some Patterson, some Nall, some Lamar Miller. In the receiving core, you got to go with Allen Robinson. And again, you almost hope if you're playing parts of the Chicago passing game that Dalvin Cook gets out for a couple of long touchdowns, maybe another defensive touchdown like Tennessee got last week, and then you get garbage time. So Allen Robinson's in garbage time or not. If we get garbage time, it's Anthony Miller getting open a lot on routes, short routes to help them move the ball down the field on these desperation drives. And then it's Darnell Mooney. And Mooney is a classic what the heck flex because it's there. It's there. Nick Foles just can't hit him. And it's certainly there against this Minnesota secondary. I think Minnesota's run defense is improving. I still think there's breakdowns against the secondary that can be taken advantage of. I just don't know if Nick Foles can do that. I do know that Jimmy Graham can take advantage of the Minnesota defense, and Jimmy Graham will probably be a good play once again. So, for instance, Jimmy Graham or Mark Andrews, they've had similar outlooks, but Graham is coming in warmer. Graham has the better matchup. So I think Graham and Allen Robinson are the guys you want. And if Nick Foles learns how to play, then maybe these other pieces what we could see here too is a shift where the Bears were that upstart team, maybe defying logic to be a playoff star team. Maybe it's the Vikings. So the Vikings and the Patriots, both teams that we had higher expectations for coming into this year, in these primetime games in Week 10 can show we're not done yet.
We're not done yet if you're Minnesota, and we're not done yet if we're the Audible, because we're not, because we still have one more segment left. But I want to change Wrecking Nall's name, Ryan Nall. Love him, Ryan, Oregon State. What's up? I want to change it to Null, Knull, because that is the symbiote god. Mm-hmm. That is the god where Venom and Carnage came from. So King of Black starts this week in Marvel Comics, and I'm a little excited about that. That's another podcast, Bloom. Let's talk about the podcast we're doing right now, which includes our ever popular What the Heck Flex. You need some punch in your lineup. You're looking over, you're like throwing your hands in the air like you just don't care, but honestly you do. So in Week 10, who are those What the Heck Flexes? I've got some. And listen, I wasn't one of those Senior Bowl like, oh my God, look at Kalen Ballage. Me and Matt Waldman were regularly making fun of those people, but Kalen Ballage is a What the Heck Flex? Sure. Against the Dolphins, throw him in there. I look at Alexander Madison, I mentioned, throw him in as a What the Heck Flex, see what you can get. Devontae Booker, it's revenge week for Devontae Booker. He is a What the Heck Flex this week. Then we get to the wide receiver position. Your What the Heck Flexes include, well, AJ Green. Yeah, that's kind of where he's at. Darnell Mooney, as I said, with that speed. Get him in there. Marvin Jones Jr. is a What the Heck Flex. I'm going to say it every time now. This kid, if he plays, What the Heck Flex. By the way, KJ Hamler. No, not revealing too much, but KJ Hamler should be more involved. And especially if Jerry Jeudy can't play with that shoulder contusion. Judy's limited today. He didn't practice yesterday. Should be fine. Should be Jerry Jeudy out there, but know that there's an idea to get KJ Hamler the ball more. So just What the Heck Flex him and call it good, Bloom. You look over your lineups. Who are some of your Week 10 What the Heck Flexes?
I like that. I'm adding KJ Hamler to my sleepers here. Hold on a second. I need to go back. Sometimes you get to see the sausage getting made here. Look, running back's terrible. Okay, I mean, sleeper what the heck flex plays at running back are more like desperation plays.
Right.
But we talk about the Chargers backs, Kalen Ballage or Troy Maine Pope. I don't know how to prognosticate this one. Maybe Ballage won't get called back up from the practice squad. It'll give us some clarity. Just monitor that one. J.D. McKissick. Until proven otherwise, we think he's going to get 6 or 7 catches a game. Love that in PPR leagues. It is Detroit. Jerick McKinnon, speaking of 6 or 7 catches, he might need to do that just to take some pressure off of Nick Mullins, Latavius Murray on the other side of that matchup. Duke Johnson revenge game against Cleveland if David Johnson is not going. And the Tampa running backs, remember, Tampa's running back scored 3 times against Carolina in that first matchup. Leonard Fournette got that long one to close it out. Ronald Jones, who was in at the goal line last week. So if you like Tampa to move the ball this week, you think maybe one of those Tampa running backs can come through as what the heck flex. Wide receiver, love Auden Tate. So you say AJ Green, I say Auden Tate. We're thinking the same thing though, as short, quick passes, long frame receivers move the ball. Josh Reynolds mentioned in that matchup against Seattle. Richie James mentioned again. Somebody's got to do it for this 49ers offense this week. Darnell Mooney we mentioned. How about Nelson Aguilar? Cecil, how do you feel about the Broncos' ability to defend the deep pass right now?
Not good.
Yeah, that's Nelson Aguilar and Henry Ruggs music here. And Rashard Higgins, it's Houston. Houston is good. Did you see DJ Chark last week? There's going to be, and on that note, even Marcus Valdez-Scantling and Alan Lazard, where you're putting in your tech flex at wide receiver to maybe get that 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown. And then we're adding KJ Hamler to the list. You've got a list of who's been naughty or nice, checking it twice. We'll see if Hamler can be nice.
We'll see what happens in week 10. We have, of course, IDP Roundtable coming up in just a little bit. We have the Audible live show tonight. That is right here on YouTube at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Make us part of your 2-screen experience. As Colts Titans, we don't know exactly what we're going to get. So, and then, of course, our DFS show, The Power Grid, Austin Lee and company coming through. That's on Friday, released here on the Audible. So thank you guys very much for growing the YouTube channel almost to 12,000 subscribers. So we certainly appreciate that. Do all those YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And why am I not mentioning my sunglasses, Bloom? It's an homage to Comic Tom, who once in a while will do videos on YouTube and he'll have sunglasses on. And then it's like, what is he doing? What is going on? So it's a little mystery, right? It's a little mystery. We're all gonna have it's a hat day, right? It's a sunglasses day. I don't know what else we've got, but we'll use what's in our arsenal for sure, as we love talking about football and we dig the fact that so many of you enjoy it. So for the great Sigmund Bloom, I'm Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.